Welcome back to another tabletop review. Today we'll take a look at the FN PS90 bullpup. Today we're taking a look at another firearm that my son has brought for me to be reviewed. This futuristic looking firearm is the FN PS90. It's chambered for the 5.7 28 NATO round. Now, since I don't own this gun, I can freely admit that I'm not very familiar with the P90 or the civilian version, the PS90. The military version, the P90, which this one is not of course, would be a fully automatic up to 1,000 rounds per minute submachine gun. You can easily see that such a compact carbine would have had a specialized role for use in close quarters by soldiers in support roles. The P90 was designed more than 30 years ago as a compact, high-powered firearm for vehicle crews, operators of crew-served weapons, support personnel, special forces, and counter-terrorist groups. In addition to being fully ambidextrous, the P90 has several unique features, including a horizontally mounted feeding system on top of the gun, with spent casings ejecting through a chute located on the underneath behind the grip. Now let's make sure this gun is cleared first. By the way, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. The P90 was developed in response to a NATO request for a replacement to the 9mm cartridge and two types of weapons to be chambered in the new cartridge, a shoulder-fired weapon and the other a handheld weapon. In 1990, FN Herstal of Belgium was the first to respond to the NATO request, and by 1993 the design for the P90 had been finalized. The P90 was designed in conjunction with the FN 5.7 pistol, both chambered for the new FN 5.7 28 NATO ammunition. And since production of the P90 first began in 1990, it was designated the P90. Now currently, the FN P90 is in use by military and police forces in over 40 nations such as Austria, Brazil, Canada, France, Greece, India, Malaysia, Poland, and the United States. It has a distinctive compact modular design with an even more unique horizontally mounted feeding system. Of course, the P90 is restricted to military and law enforcement use, but starting in 2005, the FN PS90 civilian use version was produced as a semi-automatic carbine intended for personal protection and sporting use. Now, I should probably comment a little more on the ammunition for this gun, since development of the firearm was directly linked to the development of the cartridge. There's quite a bit of discussion on the pros and cons of the 5.7 by 28 round out there on the internet, so I'm not going to go into that discussion, but I will point out that the 5.7 by 28 cartridge weighs about 6 grams, roughly half as much as a typical 9mm cartridge, allowing the same number of rounds to be carried for less weight, or allowing more rounds to be carried for the same weight. It also produces roughly 30% less recoil than the 9mm cartridge and potentially poses less risk of collateral damage than conventional pistol bullets, because the projectile design limits over penetration as well as risk of ricochet. And due to its high velocity, the 5.7 by 28 exhibits an exceptionally flat trajectory. Now, as you know from my other reviews, if I know a movie connection for one of these firearms, I try to point that out. Let me just say, first of all, many young shooters will know all about the P90 from video games like GoldenEye 007. It's a very popular weapon in that regard. However, the P90 has also been featured as a military and SWAT law enforcement type weapon in many films. Carried by good guys and bad guys alike, the P90 is often seen as a backup role, but in 1999, James Bond film The World Is Not Enough, it gets a lot more screen time in the hands of both the villains and Pierce Brosnan as Bond. Now, this is my son's gun, so I don't have any packaging to show, but I believe the PS90 came in a cardboard box with one magazine. The holographic optic has been added. As for specifications of the FN PS90, it includes that it's a semi-automatic only polymer bullpup carbine configuration. It's a straight blowback design. During its history, it's been made available in a number of variations. Most of these variations have been discontinued. This is the current standard model. The finish is black matte, available beginning in 2019. The caliber is 5.7 by 28. Operation is closed bolt blowback. Mag capacity is either 10 or 30 for this particular unit. Barrel length is 16 inches. The barrel is hammer forged and chrome lined. It has a ported muzzle brake. Overall length is 26.23 inches. There's a bottom ejection port, alloy upper receiver and barrel support. The stock is synthetic thumb hole bullpup design. There's a forward hand stop, bolted in sling rear attachment back here. It's a sliding trigger. Ambidextrous controls include the charging handle and the safety and magazine release. The PS90 will accept the standard 50 round P90 magazines, but the PS90, like this one, may be sold with a magazine that's blocked to a capacity of either 10 or 30 rounds. This is blocked to 30 rounds, depending on the state and local laws. There's an accessory rail, and the rail includes a set of integrated iron sights as backup in case the primary sights might be damaged. This gun is outfitted with a holographic optic. Okay, I'll admit that I'm not a big fan of the bullpup design, but this thing is just strange enough that I was really looking forward to taking it to the range. There was an extensive amount of ergonomic research that went into the P90's unusual design, so you would expect the feel of the gun in your hands would be pretty good. The modular design looks weird, but feels okay for its purpose, except I kept wanting to put my support hand out in front of the guard. And to be honest about it, things felt a little too cramped and just a little bit awkward to me. But the P90 is fully ambidextrous, and because it's mostly a polymer gun, it's also quite light at just over 6 pounds. Although not a fast procedure, loading the 50 round magazine is a fairly easy process. And installing the magazine on top might take a little bit more force, but it can be accomplished fairly quickly. Nothing like my AR magazines. The translucent magazine body allows for visual inspection of rounds. The charging handle seems small but adequate. Top rail dual mount sights work well enough, but I really like the holographic optic for quick target acquisition. Trigger pull is light and short. Feels like about 6 pounds. Reset is short and distinct. Nothing to rave about, but pretty good. Recoil is very light, allowing for easy target retention. The urge to rapid fire this gun is very strong, but I had to remind myself that it was costing me $1 every time I pulled the trigger. Accuracy was excellent as long as my targets were stationary and at a shorter distance, but that probably says more about my lack of abilities and experience with this gun. Low recoil was certainly a noticeable benefit to accuracy. The main con I have regarding the PS90 is the availability and the cost of the FN 5928 NATO ammo. Most of what I could find locally was about $1 a round, and the look of the gun is weird. Some say it's just plain ugly. On the other hand, it does tend to get people's attention when you take it to the range. Personally, I don't like the cramped up style of the bullpup. An expensive amount of polymer went into the construction of this gun, which made it pretty light. Also gives you the feeling of plastic. The charging handle is quite small. No speed loading these magazines. And how do you store these extra magazines? These are such an odd size. Even worse is that you may need to practice switching out magazines for a while to get used to the format. nothing like my AR. And finally, the bolt doesn't hold back after the last round is fired. As for pros, personally I think FN in general makes pretty good stuff, and when they set out to respond to military requirements, they usually hit the mark. And I'd say that was the case with this PS90. I'm talking about quality and its military purpose, not necessarily how well the PS90 has been designed for the civilian market. But this firearm is not only well made, it's been well thought out. The PS90 is totally ambidextrous, and due to its short design, is maneuverable in tight spaces. The dual backup sights are brilliant. It has a decent trigger. The lower ejection of shells removes the typical obstructions of spent shells. It's rounded all over for snag-free operation. As many as 50 rounds are compactly contained in the top magazine configuration, and the magazines are reasonably priced. And the PS90 has low recoil and adequate accuracy below 200 yards. And according to internet reviews, it would appear that the PS90 displays a reasonable reliability. One more thing. Because the PS90 platform has been around for more than 3 decades, there's a lot of options out there in support. The PS90 requires minimal maintenance in its modular firearm, so it can be disassembled fairly quickly and easily. First thing we're going to do is remove the magazine. I'm going to cock it. You need to do that in order to allow for the trigger pack to be removed. We're going to push the takedown button here and slide off the upper. We're going to tip the lower to slide out the bolt carrier group. We're going to remove the butt plate by pushing up. And then we're going to push up on this little tab here. And that allows us to remove the trigger pack. And that's it. Reassembly is just the opposite. I'm going to return the trigger pack. Return the butt plate. Return the bolt carrier group. Return the upper. Push down the takedown button. Return the magazine. Test the function. And that's it. As for price, the standard model PS90 is available for about $1,400. Now before we end today's video, I'd like to remind you that if you haven't already, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe down below. And thanks for watching. The PS90 is the civilian version of the military P90 fully automatic carbine. The PS90 is chambered for the newly developed FN 5728 NATO ammunition. Regardless of its odd design, the PS90 is ergonomically a comfortable gun to handle and shoot. However, its compact design and lightweight make real target retention a little challenging, although soft recoil certainly help. And while the initial cost of this gun, as well as the high cost of the ammunition, might cause many to hesitate to consider the PS90, the gun handles well on the range, demonstrating good shooting comfort, reasonable control, and adequate accuracy for its purpose. With practice, even I could get better with this gun. The benefits of the 5728 round for reduced weight and increased capacity, as well as reduced overpenetration and less chances of ricochet, make it ideal for many applications over the 9mm, or even 223 or 5.56 ammo. Fit and finish are only average, and the use of so much polymer everywhere on this gun makes it look and feel plastic. But internally and functionally, things look better, and how everything works on this gun helps restore your interest and confidence in the PS90. I'll admit this was an odd one. My son showed me his PS90 years ago, and I think he even stored it for him while he was on deployment. But I never really took a good look at it. I didn't like its looks, and when I checked out the cost of the ammo, I just dismissed it as too weird. So here we are. After spending a few days with it, what do I think? Well, I kind of like it. I didn't want to, but I really do kind of like it. Realistically, I can see its attraction for home defense or urban defense weapon based on capacity, design, reliability, and ammo features. Would I choose this over my AR? Well, probably not. But to be honest, the cost to operate this gun alone would keep me from buying one. And its purpose seems limited. It's certainly not a marksman's rifle, it's not a match gun, and it's not a hunting rifle, and I don't think it'd make a good choice even as a range gun to the high cost of ammo. Nonetheless, given its original purpose, the PS90 is an interesting creation that I ended up liking more than I probably should. I mean, it may be weird, but although 30 years old in design, it still looks futuristic, and I guarantee that even today, it will definitely turn heads on the range. So I can certainly understand if you're attracted to the FN PS90. Many are, and for good reasons. Any weapon you carry is better than one you left at home. Thanks for watching. Hope you'll be back for my next tabletop review. Until next time, stay safe.